We have one piece of new video I want to show you right now, which in some ways is symbolic of what else we've seen in Ukraine. If we can look at this right now, this is the video from a nuclear power plant where plant workers and civilians just took to the streets to block a Russian military column here. And this is striking because we're seeing examples of this all over Ukraine. The Ukrainian people rising up, a nation of 44 million people saying, no, we won't be conquered. And I just wonder, if you have a guy like Putin who's not willing to budge, and you have this nation that says, no, we're not going to let you come in here, where this goes next.
Well, what it tells you is that the war after the war, the struggle after the military conflict proper, is going to be very, very difficult, long for the Russians, by which I mean, even if the Russian forces are able to take cities like Kyiv, by which I mean occupy the government buildings, take control of the headquarters of the security services. Every Russian tank, every time it turns a corner, goes down a street, is going to face the prospect of a Molotov cocktail, of perhaps a rocket-launched grenade, something or the other that represents exactly what you're describing, which is the indomitable will of the Ukrainian people not to be conquered. And that is a very, very difficult process. I mean, even in situations where you have had less impressive displays of nationalism and will, it's hard. I mean, the United States knows how hard it is. Now, Ukraine is a flat country. There are no mountains and caves, but occupying cities is very hard. What you will see is urban resistance and urban warfare, which can be very bloody. And again, my fear about Vladimir Putin is that his answer to this will be to level whole buildings, level whole blocks. This is a situation where you could imagine, alas, that it can get much, much worse than 2,000 civilian casualties.
Although that will rely on Russian conscripts, 12-month Russian conscripts who are willing to pull the trigger on their Ukrainian brothers and sisters if Vladimir Putin orders it. You mentioned, Fareed, and this is something that people don't necessarily like talking about, when everyone in the world wants to stand up to a degree to Vladimir Putin, but off-ramps. How do you give him a way out of this?
Look, the strategy has to be that you are as tough as you need to be, and you make it absolutely clear, as I've said, that the Russian bayonet will meet a brick wall. On the other hand, there has to be a way to climb down. Most wars end with some kind of brokered solution. And the Ukrainian president understands that. The Ukrainians are negotiating right now in Belarus. And so I think at some point, the Secretary of State should get involved, perhaps Emmanuel Macron, to say, look, we are not going to allow this aggression to stand, but we still remain willing to talk about security and stability in Europe. I don't know if that's enough for Vladimir Putin, but we do know one thing, John, which is he totally controls the media space in Russia. So if he wants to climb down in some way, it is not as hard for him as a elected Western democratic leader with a free press. If Vladimir Putin says he achieved his objectives in Ukraine, every Russian television news anchor and commentator will say exactly that and praise him for that. So he has that capacity to make a blunder and walk back, and yet it is not as life-threatening or career-threatening as it would be in a Western democracy.